Hey there, Jason Griffin, and welcome to Vanilla Rome. I'll be your instructor through this course, and I'm really excited to jump in with you. Before we dive straight in to working in the graph, I wanted to start out with just a quick introduction and talk about some key concepts again before we dive in. So, starting out with a little bit of my background, a couple of years ago, I was really struggling. I was reading a lot of books, I was reading a lot of great articles online, listening to a lot of great podcasts. In short, I was ingesting a lot of great ideas and information, but I felt like I was sort of coming up short. I did not have a good system at all for ingesting and capturing and organizing these ideas, much less the process of really retaining the information, as well as distilling down and synthesizing these ideas into my own and kind of actualizing them into my own life. These were ideas that had the ability to, or had the potential, I should say, to improve my relationships, to help me make more money at work, to help me just live a healthier and all around happier and more contented life. And I felt like I wasn't maximizing those. And so that was really nagging at me. And I started experimenting with different note taking solutions, both off the shelf products as well as systems that I had kind of put together on my own using things like Google Documents, and invariably found that these solutions that I was experimenting with were coming up short. So I was ending up with a lot of siloed information, so notes scattered across way too many different documents. I was really unable to connect the dots and spot the connections between all these different ideas and really retain them and sort of make them my own. And so a chance encounter with a tweet back in early 2020 led me to discovering Rome Research. And since then, it's probably become maybe second only to my calendar, probably become the most used piece of software that I have in my life. It's become an absolutely indispensable tool for me. And so I look forward to sharing with you why and how you can also get a lot of value out of this tool. Some of the benefits that I've experienced using Rome is improved idea retention. So, again, talking about reading, there's just so much great information out there, and the ability to retain more of this information is something that Rome has really helped me with. The synthesis and creation of new ideas. So, again, not just rote memorization of ideas that I'm reading from others, but the ability to make these things my own and remix these ideas and come up with my own iterations of those. Clearer thinking, the ability to more quickly pick apart the key points and ideas from any source that I'm looking at and figure out what really matters, and what are the things that I need to be focused on when I'm reading this material. Improved focus and productivity is the next one on this list. I did not anticipate this. When I started using Rome, to me, it was really a tool about writing and note taking, but it's actually become probably the most important productivity tool that I use. And I'm a total productivity geek, so I think that's saying a lot. And so I look forward to sharing with you how Rome's outliner tools can actually make it a really great tool for improving your productivity. And then finally, probably most importantly, I would argue, is more and higher quality writing. So Rome has really helped me become a writer who can produce more and feel good about the stuff that I'm putting out there into the world. So look forward to sharing all of these benefits with you. One thing that I do want to talk about a little bit with Rome is an idea that I call the Rome paradox. So, what you're going to find out if you haven't started using Rome already, what you're going to find out very quickly is that Rome really breaks apart a lot of the traditional models that you might associate with note taking and replaces those with what's known as a graph based architecture. I'm not going to dive into the details of what that means now. You're going to see that and get a feel for that throughout the rest of this course. But generally speaking, here, the idea to know is that where most note taking apps are going to use a very traditional model of hierarchies and documents nested within folders and subfolders, Rome replaces that with what's known as a graph. So any note that you're going to create within Rome is really just going to be a node. You can think of it as a little dot within your graph that can be connected to as many other dots as you want within your graph. So you've got all these nodes within Rome. And what this allows you to do is create a very densely networked and interconnected group of ideas within your graph that you can pull from. And that's great for a ton of reasons that we'll get into. But there is a downside. So this sort of blank canvas approach can be both good and bad. And this is what I call the Rome paradox. And so that's the idea that Rome's sort of lack of constraints and traditional structures is, number one, what makes it so powerful. It can really allow you to make Rome your own and grow into the tool and have it adapt and evolve with you over time. But this lack of constraints and this sort of blank canvas approach can also be very, very overwhelming to new users. And if you go out into the Rome community, you're going to find that there's a ton of really smart, very intelligent people. And many of them really are the types that like to hack and tinker with their graphs and make them into very advanced implementations using a lot of third-party plugins and extensions and things like that. And that can just add to the overwhelm as a new user. And I'm here to tell you that things can get overly complex in a hurry. I was a victim of this myself, and it took me a long time to get traction with the tool. So this, again, is what I refer to as the Roam paradox. But what we're going to do here in this course is we are going to keep things simple. So using built-in features only, no third-party extensions, no plugins, no coding, none of that. We're going to use only built-in features. And I'm going to show you how I've sort of adapted my graph over time to get a ton of value out of this, again, without having to get super advanced. The course is going to be broken into 4 main sections. Number 1, we're going to talk about Roam's building blocks. This is going to be the only very, very theory-driven part of the course. So we just do need to cover some ground in terms of understanding some key basic building blocks of Roam, how it's structured. And once you get your head around those, you're going to be much better positioned to jump into these subsequent sections of the course where we're going to really get into practice, and we're going to be very use case driven. And we're going to go through 3 main use cases here. So number 1, we're going to talk about productivity. Again, I'm a productivity geek and did not anticipate this, but Roam, it turns out, is a great tool for keeping you focused and on task. And I also think that starting with productivity is a great use case for you to understand some of the core concepts like indentation and linked references and things like that without getting into some of the more complex areas that you can get into with note-taking and content generation. So speaking of those two, those final 2 sections of the course are really going to go hand in hand. First, we're going to talk about note-taking and how Roam is just a very, very powerful tool for aggregating highlights and insights and ideas from across all of the different sources that you're reading. And finally, having one very streamlined, fluid place to put all of those, generate them into your own ideas and your own writing, and then moving into the final section of the course, how you can use all those notes to really generate more original content, more ideas, and more output. And so if you're like me and you're trying to create more and put more of your own ideas out there into the world, that's going to be a really, really exciting section for you to jump into. And I really look forward to sharing all of these ideas with you. So once again, thank you so much for signing up for the course. I'm really excited to dive in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.